Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today on our tips and tricks session. Today we're going to be talking about Sway, one of Microsoft's newest apps. Again, we wanted to start this weekly series to give simple and easy tips that anyone can go back to their desk and quickly implement. We know your time is valuable, so we're always striving to keep sessions to no more than 30 minutes, sometimes even less. We're pushing the topics out monthly, so you only have to sign up once for the monthly series instead of 4 or 5 times. And if you missed any of our past sessions, you can always catch our sessions on our Planet Technologies YouTube channel at youtube.com/user/Planet Technologies. We're getting ready to push out our July topics this week, so keep an eye out for those. Hey, a little about myself. I'm your host, Tanya Kaiser. I'm a longtime Microsoft geek and SharePoint nerd. One of the things that I get really excited about is helping people learn new skills, especially when it comes to Microsoft Productivity Suite. If you ever have any questions about this series or Planet or Evolve 365, please feel free to reach out to me on Twitter or LinkedIn. So a little about Planet. Planet has been providing expert support in the Microsoft world for over 18 years. We offer full services for the entire Microsoft Cloud and Productivity Suite, including advisory, deployment and training services, mobile application development and solutions, and strategic business consulting, including technology, compliance, and security guidance. So let's go ahead and kick things off. Today we're going to look at Sway, and again, this is one of Microsoft's newest applications. It's an easy-to-use digital storytelling app from Microsoft. They initially previewed it in October 2014, and with the general release in August 2015, and they pushed out the iOS app in October 2015. Now, one of the things to know about Sway is that this is web-based only. So a lot of people wonder, what is the difference between Sway and PowerPoint? With PowerPoint, you can work on that on a client application. You can email it around. You can print it. You can make PDFs about it. Sway is completely web-based. So there is a Windows 10 app, but even within that Windows 10 application, you don't have an option to print or export or make a PDF. This is all web-based. So you create it and edit in the browser, in the Windows 10 app or the mobile app. There is Windows and iOS apps, no Android apps right now, but as you'll see, the browser operates very similar to the Windows 10 app. So if you're on an Android device, you can just open up a mobile browser and still access Sway. You can drop content in from any device, cloud storage, or social. So the built-in design engine that Sway has allows you to focus on your content instead of the formatting. So that's one of the other key differences between Sway and PowerPoint. With PowerPoint, you can go through and fine-tune every detail of a slide or a presentation deck, from the background images to the fonts to the size. Sway is the exact opposite of that. They want you to focus on your content, and they restrict a lot of the customizations that you can do. The great thing about Sway is that you can really share it very easily with a link, and of course, it is completely free. So even if you don't have an Office 365 account, you can go to sway.com, create a brand new account, and start using Sway right away. So I'm going to go on to my next slide, and I'm going to give you a short overview of the different Sway applications. So we're going to start first with the Windows 10 app. And again, this is Windows 10, so available on all Windows devices or a Surface Pro 3. And again, there are comparable apps for Windows devices, mobile, and then iOS. And I'm also going to show you the browser, so you'll see that it looks very similar. So I'm just logged into Sway with one of my demo accounts here, and you can see we've got a very slim menu. So we've got Home, which is My Sways. You've got Create New and Open. Now if you click Open, it's going to ask you for a Sway link. So remember, I said it's completely web-based, so even if you're going to go open somebody else's Sway to view it inside the app, it's going to want that link from you. And if you go to the bottom, you can see that I can switch accounts. I can sign, I'm in my demo account right now. I can sign into my personal account or my corporate account, and then I can also add additional accounts. You've got the feedback button here, which goes direct to Microsoft. I highly recommend that you use the feedback button. I'm going to talk about recent updates at the end here, and some of these recent updates are based on user feedback. So again, that feedback button is really key there. You can also come in here and see the feedback that's already been given to Sway. So, and then you've got an about box just giving you some links, the privacy statement, third-party notice. So very, very minimal menu there. And again, we go back to the home. Now, since this is a demo account, you can see that I've already got some sample Sways in here to give you an idea of how Sway works. And again, I can create a new one. I can also import a PDF. That's a little interesting. So you can import a Word, PowerPoint, or PDF document. It'll take the images and text in that document and apply it to Sway. I've tried that out a couple times and I've had really mixed results, so I recommend that if you're going to work with Sway, you build them from scratch. And over on the tutorial side, every Sway app that I've seen, the Windows 10 app, and we're going to get some music there, so I'm going to go ahead and mute that, takes you to tutorials in a browser. And as we toggle to that browser, you'll see that there's a whole playlist from the Office Video team about Sway. So there's a series of about 10 videos. They're each a few minutes long, taking you through the different Sway options. So this is a great resource that they give you directly in the Sway app or the Sway mobile site. So I'm going to go back to the Sway app. And again, you have the option to sync because it is web-based. Not a whole lot to the Windows 10 app. Again, very, very minimal, really limited options. And you can see they've got their samples here and a link to tutorials, and that's kind of it. So I'm going to open up one of these Sways just so you can take a look at it. I'll open up the Welcome to Sway. So when you actually open up a Sway, whether it's in the mobile site or the Windows 10 app, this is the basics of what you get. Now you still have that minimal menu to take you back, but you've got an additional menu up here at the top. You can see you have Insert, which gives you the options to insert items. And like I said, you can insert from upload, your local device. You've got cloud, so you have OneDrive in here. You also have a couple of social accounts. You can insert videos direct from YouTube, insert directly at Twitter, and you've got a couple items from Flickr, Bing, and Picket. You've got your cards, which is what makes up Sway. So each of these little sections in your Sway is considered a card. And you can see that they're separated by text, media, and then you've got group, which applies to your images. You have design, and you have a few options here. So you can see they have some built-in templates for you. Again, it says customize. That's a little bit of misnomer. We're going to get into that a little bit later, but they have these pre-built templates. They want you to focus on the content. And then you have layout, and you have 3 choices. And the layout determines how people move through your Sway. Are they going to scroll up and down? Are they going to scroll left to right? Or are they going to scroll through them, almost 1 to 2 cards at a time, depending on the card layout? You've also got this remix button, which will let you refresh your Sway based on their design engine, so you can choose that as well. And again, this is pretty much the preview area, your card area. Now you can come in here and you can drag and drop these cards, and that's how you organize your Sway. And then you also have the preview button. So in this case, again, they're going to give you a little pop-up to let you know how to move through the Sway, and you can do a preview directly within the app. So you can scroll through this one. Again, this one has the layout to scroll up and down. And this is giving you some just short info on it. And if we go all the way back up, you can see we also have, of course, the share button. So we can share this with others. We can give them a link. And then we also have a few options. Anyone with a link, public, discoverable, and search engines. And then more options. These are some of the recent updates that we're going to cover towards the end of our session. If we click the ellipsis, again, they've got some tutorials there right within the screen where you're working on your Sway, and then accessibility view. So that changes it to high contrast, gives you keyboard for people who need those options. And you also have the authors. So if you've invited others to edit the Sway, you can see that as well. So again, that's pretty much Sway in a nutshell. We've gone through that in just a couple of minutes, and that's pretty much all there is to it. If you go through the tutorials from the Office team, again, there's a series of 10 videos. They're a few minutes each. You can do that in half an hour and get a really good understanding. But I think the best way to go through Sway is to just get in and start playing around with it. So this is the Windows 10 app. I'm going to toggle over very quickly to a browser and show you just how that's a little bit different. So this is, again, one of my demo accounts. Now, if you sign in on Office 365 or Outlook and you use your Waffle app launcher to click to Sway, it's actually going to redirect you to sway.com. And this is, again, one of the key things. It is included with Office 365 and Outlook.com. But if somebody doesn't have one of those accounts, they can go to sway.com, set up a brand new account, no cost to them, and start using Sway. So they've recently refreshed the sway.com site, and now you've got, some additional information. How are you going to use Sway in here? Tell your story, and you can scroll down, and then they've got example Sways as well, and then, of course, the Get Started. But if we click over here on the icon, we can see there's not a whole lot to the menu. I can click My Sways, and I've got a very, very similar menu to the Windows 10 app. We've got this little starter bar here. We still have the tutorials. We've got a sample Sway. And again, not a whole lot to the menu on the Windows 10 site. You can see where I can switch accounts if I wanted to, sign in, sign out. And that's kind of it. Now if I open a new Sway, you'll notice it looks very, very similar to the Windows 10 app. Now my app launcher is the difference here because I'm online on the site, but I've got the same insert menu, the same cards menu, design, layout, remix. Everything else is exactly the same as the Windows 10 app. So whether you're working in the Windows 10 app or on a browser, whether it's on a Windows device, on a Mac device, because this is browser-based, or on a mobile device using a mobile browser, you're going to have those same options. Again, if I come over here to the ellipsis, I've got sign in, sign out, a little bit more of a menu, and then under the share menu, I've got the same exact thing as I had on the Windows 10 device. So this is part of the big advantage of Sway. They want to make it a simple experience across all devices. Now I'm going to go back to my presentation really quick, and I'm going to toggle over to a mobile device. This happens to be the iOS device. You can take a look at that. And I'm going to open up Sway. And you'll see in this particular Sway, I can come in and still change accounts if I wanted to. I can come into my demo account. And I've got a little bit of a simpler menu. I still have my sample Sways in here. And if I click into one of those, oh, that's one of the things that to know about Sway. So I'm going to open a separate one. You can only edit a Sway in one location at a time. So since I have that open on my Windows 10 device, it doesn't want me to open it on my iOS device. Now a way around that is to share it to a different account. But this is a blank Sway, so there's nothing in it. You can see when I go over to edit, I have an option. I can add in media, I can take a picture, I can add in a text card, and it's just that simple. You can just start typing in there. If I want to add in a heading card, and then I can drag these around. And it's really that simple. So it works very similar to the online app. You organize it the same way. You add in content. If I come in and add just a media, and it's going to default to my device here, so I'm going to put in a lovely picture of my little dog enjoying the sun. Now, when I add in more than one media picture, I can then use the grouping option, and you have an automatic choice, and it's going to prompt me to add in more items. So I can drag in this photo to my group, and if I add in a couple more pictures, and I'm just going to use the same little pictures of my puppy, it's automatically going to group those for me since I selected that group option. Now if I go to my preview, very similar to the Windows 10 and to the browser site, it's going to let me preview this directly in my device. Now this is the difference from Windows 10 and mobile browser to the mobile app. This is where I access my designs in preview. So you can see I've got my different layout options. Here they call it navigation, and then I have my different designs. So if I can click those there, and it's going to take me right back into preview. Of course, I don't have a whole lot in this Sway right now, but you can see it changes the way that you work through it. So your Sway will adapt to the device that you're viewing it on. If I pull this up in my Windows 10 app, it's going to look different than it does on my mobile device. And this is one of the other great benefits of a Sway that is adaptable to devices, whether it's a laptop, a tablet, or a mobile device. So if I go back to edit, I can continue editing. Maybe I want to change this group, and I want to change it from automatic to a stack. I just click done, and then I'm going to go back in and drag these over here. Let me go back and edit that again. Oh, it keeps wanting to add those in. So that's what I need to do. I can come back in and change this on my Windows 10 app, and it'll change the way it appears on my mobile app. And again, if we come back and change the navigation, that'll also change the way it previews. So the mobile app is a little bit simpler in the way that, one, when you add in media, it wants to pull your photos directly from your device. So that's one item. And then two, you don't have as much of the control moving items around. So that's a quick look at the mobile app. I'm going to go back to my presentation. And we're going to go on to the next item. So one of the things that people struggle with when they start working with Sway is how do you build a compelling Sway story? It is different from PowerPoint, and some of us are used to death by PowerPoint. We put absolutely everything that we can in a PowerPoint. And again, this is different from PowerPoint. It is a presentation application. It's a digital storytelling. So they want you to focus on your content. So some of my suggestions are, use bullet points, milestones, and highlights, short direct text. If you do need to have longer text, break them up with images or headlines. Sway works really, really great with those visuals. And those images are a must with Sway. Again, you want to focus on the content instead of formatting, and you'll see in a minute just how restrictive Sway is when it comes to formatting. But you want to make sure that your needs can be met by the Sway. So it's really important to be aware of its limitations. Knowing what you can and cannot do ahead of time is going to save you a lot of frustration and misdirected energy. So again, it's great for introductions, portfolio showcases, or covering events. At some of the online SharePoint and Microsoft conferences, I've seen our own Jennifer Mason, MVP at Planet Technologies, pushed out a Sway on her Twitter account and said, I'm going to be updating this Sway throughout the event. And that worked really, really great for it because it can be used on a mobile device and she can add content and pictures really quickly. But again, remember, you can't save it locally, you can't save it to a USB, you can't print it, and you can't export it. It is completely web-based, and you have to have that internet capability. So if you know you want to use Sway, but you're going to be in an area where you're not going to have Wi-Fi capability, or you're going to have to eventually send it to somebody as a PDF or an email or attachment, then Sway is probably not the right fit for you. Now, in the business world, a lot of people automatically think, well, then Sway is never going to work. But I think Sway works great for business when you use it for the right purpose. You're not going to use a Sway to deliver a full financial annual report, but it would work great for company orientation or more, informal company meetings such as, monthly get-togethers. Even a quarterly meeting, you can start with a Sway and then move into a PowerPoint for the full-blown technical or financial details. So again, it's just a matter of knowing what the limitations are with Sway. So I'm now going to go into my Windows 10 app and pull up a Sway that I've worked on before just to kind of show you. So I'm going to switch accounts in my Windows 10 app. And I'm working with the Windows 10 app since it's very similar to the browser version. So I'm actually going to go into one of my personal accounts. And this is a Sway that I use to showcase a lot of my volunteer work, and I update it periodically throughout the year. And again, the way that I've built this Sway story, I do want to tell an actual story. So if this is a PowerPoint, I may have a lot of text in there and I may, structure it a bit differently. But the focus on Sway really, really lets me pay attention to the story that people are reading. And in this one, I do have quite a bit of text, and you'll see that I've broken it up. So this is one of our heading cards here. And if I jump over to the preview, now the heading cards, one thing that I will let you know about Sway is, yes, visuals are important, but again, this isn't PowerPoint. You don't have a lot of control over the way things size. Sway is going to size them automatically. So if you have a really large image and you notice that it's looking a little bit large, you're going to have to go outside of Sway and resize that image. And in some cases, you may even have to pre-stage your media. So in this header image, I have both a small, medium, and large, and I'll look at it on a laptop and look at it on my mobile device to make sure that it's appearing the way I would like it. So again, it's really important to know about those limitations with Sway. But as I scroll through this, you'll notice that this is my title card, and I've just got some simple text on there, and I've got a few paragraphs. And again, I'm breaking up this story by the kind of images and text that I'm using. So even though I've got a few paragraphs in here, putting images throughout really, really helps break it up instead of having just a wall of text. You can see I can even embed video in here. So I can embed them directly within Sway and give people the opportunity to come view it within this Sway or to pop out of it and view it outside. You can also embed, again, you saw those Twitter, so if I had tweets in there, it has a built-in Twitter component that I can pull in tweets and it'll put them in a nice format that's screenshot. This one has mainly text, images, and then video. And you'll notice that some videos are smaller than others. Sway lets you customize in that way. You can decide which cards to emphasize. So here's a bunch of text, but I've also broken it up by using a different text format and then using some, they call it emphasis here, but it's the same as bold. And again, I've also used these header images to separate my story. So I'm going to go back to my storyline and look at my cards. And you can see each of these cards will let me switch them in and out. So if I wanted to come in and edit this one, you can see that my image is a whole image, but it's adjusting based on the device that I'm looking on it. So in this one, it was only showing you a portion of the image. And if I click on focus points, it lets me decide in this preview here where I want the focus to be. So if I wanted to move that focus point, you can see that it's adjusting and it's showing me a preview on a tablet, on a mobile device. So again, how you build out your Sway story, it's going to let you control it a little bit, but it's going to choose for you how big these items are, exactly how they're laid out based on the device that's viewing on. So again, as long as you know the limitations of Sway, you can then focus on your content and decide what is the story that you want to tell. If you approach Sway from that direction, it's a lot easier to work with. So as I scroll down, I want to also show you, this is one of the cards here that had a different format and text. Now, the thing is that this is a regular text card, and I come in here and I can choose the focus point on how I want to view it. But if we go back to my preview and I scroll back up to that card, and this was near the beginning, you can see that this font is different. Now, this isn't a choice that I have within the card. When I go back to my cards over here, I don't really have a choice in font. I have emphasize, accent, and that's kind of it. But what I know is that this heading card gives me that different font, so I made this an actual heading card. Now, the other way to do that with regular text is to choose emphasize. So if I go back to my preview, these are images and these are captions, and this is another area that you can't customize. The caption font and color is automatic within Sway. But you can see I do have a different font here and it looks like a regular text card. And this is about knowing the limitations within Sway. So here's a regular text card and all I did was choose moderate. So if I switch this font back to subtitle and we go back over, I made a change. It's web-based. It's going to refresh my Sway. You can see that this is now a regular font. Going back to that card, I can just, again, within the card itself, choose it back to moderate. You can see that my font increased here on the card, but I don't have the option to increase the font. Now, again, slightly different terminology. This would normally be called bold in PowerPoint or Word. Here we call it emphasize. If I wanted to make something italics, here they call it accent. If I go back to my preview, you can see that it changed that back. So that's one way to, as you're building your story, highlight the sections that you want by choosing a text card, changing the fonts in there. And when I say change the font, you have to know that within Sway, you're not really going and picking a different font. You're coming in and you're choosing, is this going to be a subtle text card or is it going to be a moderate text card? Is it going to have emphasis or is it going to have an accent? And that's your choice in there. So not a whole lot. You can see here I just inserted a hyperlink. There's not a whole lot through it. So these are my different cards. Again, as I go through, I'm deciding how I want to build out this Sway, what kind of story do I want to tell. And in those tutorials that you have access to, when you go back to your Sway homepage, they give you some tips on this in the tutorials. And you can also go through the samples as well. So again, that's just a quick look at building a compelling story in Sway. Now you saw how this looked on the browser. I'm going to go back to it really quick and do the preview. And I want to show you how it looks on a mobile device really shortly, as soon as we pull that Sway up. So in my preview, right at the top, we're scrolling up and down, and you're going to see a change within the mobile device right away. So I'm going to switch back to my mobile device, open up Sway again, and I'm going to change my account. We're not going to give it a rating right now. And I'm going to open up the same Sway. And before I do that, let me go and exit this one out since we know that we can't edit it in more than one place. I'm glad I reminded myself of that. And I'm going to open this up. And I'm just going to scroll through this Sway in the preview, and you're going to see how it adapted to a mobile device. And again, this is one of the really great things about Sway. So you can see this image works a lot better on a mobile device, but as I scroll through it, it's now displaying my whole image, and it's sizing that directly for the mobile device. So again, as I scroll through, I've got a block of text there. Again, it's focusing the image slightly differently because it is a different device, and it automatically adjusts, and these animations are also built into the Sway. You don't have a lot of control on the animations, it's choosing them for you. So if I keep scrolling through, as I group these images, it's pulling them up. So again, it's adapting completely on its own because it knows it's being viewed on a mobile device. If I go back to the computer and do a preview, it's going to be slightly different. Now if I change the design on this, and change the navigation, it's going to refresh it for me. Go back all the way up. And there it goes. It's refreshing for me since I made that change. Again, it's syncing back to the web. Now it's giving me some little scroll bars, and it's reminding me that my navigation changed. So I can scroll through this and see, again, it adjusted that image based on the way that I'm scrolling now. So you can see this is where you want to look at your sways, and you really want to make some decisions on the layout. For mobile devices, I think the up and down scrolling tends to work best because you don't have that fine-tuned control over how things move through the sway like you do in a PowerPoint choosing your animations. You want to look at this on different devices. So that's just a really quick peek on how you can build out your sway story and then how it's going to adapt on the different mobile devices that you look at. So we're going to go back to our presentation, and here's where we talk about customizing. Again, this is a little bit of a misnomer. So Sway allows for minimal customization. We've already talked a lot about that. You know, within PowerPoint, you can actually build out whole designs, but within Sway, you choose from the color inspiration, the color palette, font choices. It's still a misnomer. They give you a couple of pairs. Animation, emphasis, again, subtle, moderate, intense. Text size, you saw me choose, you know, subtle, moderate. They have the same thing, small, normal, large. You saw me just demonstrate the layouts will adjust based on the device, but you can choose a scroll preference, and that really does affect how your sway is viewed. So when we say customize a sway, it's really how do you want people to view it, how do you want people to interact with it. There's no true customization like you have with PowerPoint. So the things that I really recommend is, again, remember that you're not going to resize your images or cards within Sway. So since you can't build those components, have those images in a ready-to-upload format. If you do any other components, you know, if you want to include some ready-to-go graphics, you're going to have those ready as well. You don't have, you know, smart art or shapes that you can insert. So really quickly, I'm going to show you how you can customize that in the Windows 10 app. I'm just going to open up my same Sway that we have here. And again, remember, it's kind of a misnomer to customize a sway, but I'll show you where that menu option is. So if we come over to design, you see that we have the customize option. Now again, we can come in here and choose different sways, different colors, and these are all really color palettes. They've got quite a few choices. Educators love this sways because they have a bunch of different colorful options, and that really works really well in an education setting. Now when you come into customize, pretty much it's going to be curated, and you can also pick from the images within your sway. So if I come in here and pick my header title, that Extra Life Blue, you can see that it changed my color palette just by doing that. Now when I come down to pick my font choices, those are minimal, and it gives me a couple of different font pairs. So I can't come in and add my own fonts or choose them, but I can change the different fonts. And that's kind of it. Now again, animation emphasis, I can have subtle, moderate, intense, text size, small, normal, large. So when they say customize, you're still limited to the choices that they give you, but you know, there are a few options that you have at least. And that's kind of all there is to customizing your sway. So I'm just going to switch that back. Again, the more images you upload, the more color choices you're going to get if you want to choose colors based on your images, or you can just go with the regular curated sways. And that's really all there is to customizing the sway. So I'm going to go back to my presentation and Sway on the go. So one thing that I do love about Sway is that it is a really great option for creating a really impactful presentation in just a few minutes. You saw a really lengthy Sway that I shared, but you can pull, if you have images ready to go, you can put a Sway together on the go in just minutes, share that via direct link, Facebook or Twitter. Again, this design creates the views for you on the back end, so you don't waste any time on that. You just add your text, add your images, and it's pretty much ready to go. Some of the suggestions that I've already talked about, you know, if possible, pre-stage your Sway, select the design and layout theme ahead of time, have your images and text ready. One thing that I do when I'm attending events is I make sure all of my images are either in my OneNote that is always synced to my different devices or in my OneDrive, because I can access OneDrive on my mobile device and download those to my, you know, iCloud photos if I need to. Again, it works really, really well because you have that sharing link. You can send it out via Twitter or Facebook and let people know, hey, this is what I'm going to be updating throughout this event. And on Twitter, you can even pin that tweet. So the other thing is that even though Sway is online and shareable, you can always stop sharing a Sway at any time when you want to. So you can come into the browser or Windows 10 app and use the stop sharing button, and that permanently removes the URL that you have previously shared. So anybody who had that URL, it's no longer going to work. If you want to share it again, you go in and it's going to be a completely different URL. So those are some things to know about Sway on the go, and I think that's why it really works well. So wrapping it up really quickly, some of the recent updates that they've done, this just came out with the June Office 365 update. So this is specific for Office 365 subscribers. Now Sway is still free for anyone to use, but this is the first time they've added features for paid subscribers. You can password protect a Sway. You can create a longer Sway, which is why I was able to create my extra long, extra life Sway covering 3 years. And then you can also remove the Sway footer. So at the end of Sway, it says made with Sway. And that was one of those feedback items that people kept asking for. They said, you know, I want to use this in business, but when it says made with Sway at the bottom and it has a link to a website, it doesn't look professional. If you're an Office 365 subscriber, you can now remove that. And password protect was also a top feature that people were asking for. So really important to use those feedback options when you're working with any Office applications. They're a great thing, and the Office staff does actually listen to it. So I already showed the Getting Started with Sway video links. Again, there's about 10 videos. If you run through all of them, it's 30, maybe 40 minutes, and it'll give you everything that you need to know about Sway. So this is one of the areas that we cover in Evolve 365. All of these ongoing changes in Office 365, you want to keep people informed. You can always come into my tips and tricks session. Keep an eye on my Twitter feed as I send out updates on new changes. But we also have Evolve 365, which is our subscription-based help desk as a service for Microsoft Office 365. And part of this service is we have on-demand self-help training, including a whole series of videos on Sway. We also have additional add-ons for live support, vision and planning, and every subscription comes with a dedicated Office 365 trusted advisor like myself. One of my roles in my job with Evolve 365 is to let my customers know what changes are coming. So if I do have a customer who is using Sway, I would want to let them know about these new updates to password protect, create longer ones, and remove that Sway footer. If you're interested, I'm going to scroll through my demo screen really quickly since we're at time. You can go to freetrial.o365support.com. Our free trial site has a sample of our content. We have over 25,000 videos, but you'll see a sampling of it on the free trial site, including some videos on Sway. And we also have an email as well. So if you want additional information on Evolve 365, you can always email us at info@o365support.com. So a couple of events to know about. Our tips and tricks series, we're finishing out our June series, but we're pushing out the July series this week. And next week I'm going to be talking about the brand new SharePoint mobile app. So you can look for that on our events page at go-planet.com to register for the next series. Last week was Unity Connect Online, and you can now sign up and register and get access to all of the recordings. So registration is open for 30 days. You can go on and view all of those recordings. We had several sessions from our Planet Technologies MVPs like Jennifer Mason and Kathy Dew. And there's also hundreds of other videos on Azure, SharePoint, and Office 365. And coming up tomorrow, we have a Planet Technologies webcast on best practices for Windows 10 deployment. So if your organization is looking at Windows 10, you may want to sign up for that one as well. Again, we'll be here next week. I'm not seeing any questions in the chat window since we're at time. I want to thank everybody for joining today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter or LinkedIn, and I hope to see you online next week.